Please give a warm Elevate Daytona Beach welcome for our next speaker of the evening, Rivera.
Good evening, Elevate Daytona Beach. Some of you may know me as the Erica Rivera, professional model and belly dancer, now turned sex educator and victims advocate. This is my story of my survival. Do dreams really come true, especially after trauma? Mine did, but it took a while to get there. I honed in on the skills that I developed as a public figure in order to fuel a career in sexual health education and victims advocacy. Let me explain why. Unfortunately, at 6 years old, I was molested by my uncle at a family barbecue. Children are the most vulnerable. 1 out of 4 girls will experience sexual abuse before the age of 18. 1 in 6 boys will experience the same thing. Now, we often preach stranger danger, but did you know that it's normally someone closest to the child or the child's family that perpetrates 91% of child sexual abuse? Parents need to discuss sex education with their kids way before they learn about it at schools. Now, I don't know about you, I'm not a parent, but I am that crazy aunt. And I have a niece that just turned 9 years old, and if I ever found out that she was part of that statistic, I don't know what I would do. My Latina would come out real quick. But on a serious note, we do have to discuss these things with our kids way before school, because in our school system, especially here in Florida schools are not required to teach sex ed. And Florida schools also don't have to have any instruction on consent. Anything that is provided doesn't have to be medically accurate. Now, at 15, I started to suffer through a lot of flashbacks of my own child sexual abuse, and needing support and help from my family, I reached out just to find out my parents knew about the trauma but had swept it under the rug. Fortunately, at 17, I did graduate with honors and finished a dual enrollment program at what is now Daytona State College. Thank you. But not even a month after graduating, my parents kicked me out after being 10 minutes late past my curfew. 3 out of 4 homeless youth are victims of crime, so here I was yet again about to become another statistic. In July of 2004, I was raped several times by a gentleman that pulled me into his vehicle. Law enforcement took me home, and my father decided not to press charges. That is when I knew that I was no longer Daddy's little girl. My father used to be in the Navy, and I was clearly in need, so I enlisted as a hospital corpsman. During my first GYN appointment in basic training, I found out that I had contracted a lifelong sexually transmitted infection. And to make matters worse, I was sexually assaulted by a female recruit that same month. In 2018, 20,000 service members reported being sexually assaulted or raped. That's 1 in 3 service members at the time, and 1 in 5 service members today. A slight improvement, but that's not enough. When I came back to Florida, adjusting was really difficult, and it made me realize that our area was lacking in services for sexual assault survivors, which is it's a shame, because 38% of women, they report sexual harassment in the workplace alone, and also suffer from mental health effects from that harassment. Let's look at the bigger picture. 81% of women nationwide, they go through sexual assault in their lifetime. 81%, that's 1 in 5 women who have been through either attempted or completed rape. Sexual violence is a public health issue, and it's up to us to pave a path to prevention using a comprehensive approach. Whether that's implementing sexual health education programs in school, or even just destigmatizing those really dark and heavy conversations, we need to encourage transparency in our homes and even places of worship. We should also revisit how law enforcement and first responders are trained. Are they trauma-informed? They should be. They need to consider someone's life experiences in order to provide effective care. We should be supporting sexual violence prevention programs, as well as doing community awareness, doing some outreach. And we should also make resources accessible to recovering survivors like myself. Doing so can decrease the effects of PTSD and re-victimization. And 75%, did you know 75% of sexual assault survivors, they fall under the diagnostic criteria for PTSD just 1 month after an assault? I founded the National Care Foundation, our Center for Advocacy, Resources, and Equity, in order to fuel that mission. And all donations go towards the survivors of our community. If you take anything away from what I've said, please remember that as a survivor, we have never asked for it. We don't choose to be a statistic. As a society, we need to do better, and I believe that we can. Thank you.